Hi, welcome to Comic Talk. I'm Joshua.
And I'm on Team Edward.
Really? I think I'm Team Edward. That's tough, man.
Jacob's pretty fucked up though, because he ends up like falling in love with his baby.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So how could you be on Team Jacob after that?
Well, just because that's super weird. It's like kind of more fun.
I don't know if I want to endorse that kind of behavior.
I don't either. Okay, so we're going to talk about Rai. Welcome to New Japan. This is Volume 1 of Rai. This is on Valiant, and it's Kent and Crane. So we're back. This is Valiant. We've talked about how Valiant hasn't really wowed us yet, but we're still looking, right?
Yeah. The search continues.
Yeah, so we tried out Rai just because it looks... I think one of the things that's interesting about Rai and Valiant is that it's just considerably different in like setting, you know, because it's a futuristic cyberpunk kind of thing. So I thought maybe, okay, let's give that a try. That's way different than the other stuff we've done so far.
Sure.
And we kind of, what's this about? Let's do that first.
Well, we're in future Japan, and it's not even on Earth anymore, right? It's somewhere else. And everything's electronic and fucking cyber and shit, and everybody has these AI companion people to convince them not to have babies, I guess, because the population's really dense. And there's some rebellious people doing rebellious shit, and then he's like the guardian for this dude, Father, who's like the overlord of all the digital shit.
I would say if you had to really cut it down even further than that, it's probably just like the protector of this future city is investigating the first murder in 1,000 years.
Sure. Right,
that's probably the simplest way to put it. So on the surface, it's maybe like a detective mystery, but I didn't really get much actual detective-iness out of it.
No, it's kind of just ninja violence.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. So let's break this down and talk about a couple different things about it. First of all, overall writing, let's just start there. Overall, your impression of the writing, where did you stand on it?
I thought it was pretty good for what it is. I mean, if I was looking for something like this, you know, I guess if my taste drifted a little bit more in the Capes direction, I would probably think this is really good. But I thought it was okay. I mean, I don't feel like I really gained anything from reading it or anything. I won't be telling anybody about it, you know, willingly.
Right.
Other than this.
Right. You know what? I think that's a really good description of my own opinion of this, how I felt coming out of it. And it mirrors kind of what we were talking about in the Harvey Awards discussion we had about Valiant titles, where it's really good as this. Right? It's a good version of a very straightforward cyberpunk thing. It's well written. It's, in fact, I would say, really well written.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just not very interesting subject matter. There's no real substance to the actual story or any consequence for either the reader or Matt Kent, the writer, right? There doesn't feel like there's any reason for this. You know what I mean?
I felt going along with that, I didn't really have a lot of reason to care about the characters. And they seem just to be like people in these situations. Like there was nothing to make them endearing like at any point. Which is weird because, I mean, one of the main characters is like a little girl.
Right.
So you'd think that'd be a really easy sell, but, you know, at the end I was just like, well, she's just some girl, whatever.
Yeah.
She likes to write things down on paper sometimes.
Yeah, it's very... it feels like like you're looking in through a window, I guess you could say. Like, I don't feel directly connected to any of the events that happen in this. It's more just watching things occur.
Right.
I don't feel emotionally invested in it at all. And I think there is one aspect to that I think is really clever, and that's the fact that the main character, Ray, I think Rai, like,
sure,
Rai makes more sense to me, but...
Like bread.
Yeah, okay, maybe Ray. But Ray then just sounds like a hillbilly or something, you know? I feel like that character is a tough one in the same way that Superman's often difficult, in that he's basically indestructible, right? They blow him up, you can cut him in half, it doesn't matter, he just reconstitutes again. So there's you can't really create any tension out of, like, will he survive? Is he going to get hurt? Because he doesn't. Neither of those things happen to him.
But the key to that has always been very sympathetic, supporting characters. You know? You didn't get to read the first 8, I think, of Escape from New York on Boom. But it was a very similar problem where, like, Snake Plissken, like, if you watch the movies, whatever, like, he's pretty quiet dude, you know, I mean, and to try to change that and make him more vocal and everything would just detract from the character because that's, like, his mystique, you know, but they did a really good job of just surrounding him with people that filled in, like, enough of that it was okay to have a character like that, and I didn't get that.
Right. Something else that I think in terms of, like, giving props for the writing is that you don't really feel like you're being pandered to either. At least I didn't.
Sure.
Throughout, I felt like I was honestly learning with the characters what was going on and how the world worked without, like, tons of expositionary dialogue of things just being explained to people.
Right.
And there was some of that, but it was done in a really deft way that made it not feel, I guess, Jeff Jonesian.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it was well crafted.
Right.
I think for the story that they told and the manner in which they told it.
Right. All in all, and I guess the sci-fi cyberpunk setting, is that something that you really feel drawn to at all?
Not really. I mean, Blade Runner was cool.
Right. And it does have a bit of that Blade Runner feel to it.
Sure.
It feels like a lot of sort of gritty sci-fi stuff that's set in a future that's maybe not dystopian or utopian. Like, it does a good job of being somewhere in the middle. There's a lot of gray area. But it really takes all of these really interesting feeling ideas and just grinds them down into, like, an action ninja story of a guy cutting people's heads off, right?
If I was, like, 14, though, this would probably change my life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so. For high school kid, this would be some badass stuff, Or somebody with the mentality of a high school kid, I suppose, as well.
Sure.
Artistically, I think, as has been true to form with a lot of the Valiant stuff I've read, it's pretty fucking cool looking.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's super digital, which, again, for the story, like, super makes sense.
Yeah,
you know, so they have a lot of fun playing with that, and it's nice. It was nice to look at.
Yeah, it's cool. What else do you think of this? Would you recommend, who would you recommend this to?
Well, again, like a high school kid or somebody with the mentality of a high school kid. Not really anybody beyond that, you know.
Somebody looking for maybe smarter action.
Yeah, like if I'm talking to a kid and they're like, oh yeah, man, like all this stuff at like DC right now is super cool. Like I'm reading Green Lantern and it's amazing. I would be like, you should check out this.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. It's just better versions of pretty straightforward stuff, right?
Yeah.
Coming out of this, what was your impression? Do you want to read more? Did it make you interested at all? I would say that by the time I got to the end, I would have liked to have maybe seen this conclude a little bit more. Like, it ends without much happening.
Yeah, and I mean, for an ongoing series, you have to believe that this storyline may go on for a really long fucking time, and you know, you maybe get like pieces here and there, which are like small victories, whatever, but yeah, it's setting itself up for like a super long narrative, and I'm just not that invested in it.
Right.
I don't want to go down the rabbit trail.
I agree. I will not be reading more of it, I don't think, but it did leave me wishing that at least this particular part of the story could have maybe been closed up in the same trade that I was reading, because it's not compelling enough to keep me reading, but it feels like maybe if this would have concluded, it may have become compelling enough to continue. But at this point, I don't have enough incentive to finish. Anything else you'd like to say about it?
Nah.
I don't have much else either. It was middling. I'm not so sure I would really recommend it to anybody, to be honest.
What about, going back to like the high school kid who's into like DC garbage? Like,
maybe I'm not sure that they would. I would probably go with other like better DC stuff before I would go to something like this. I think you would have to have pretty specific taste for me to tell you to read this. If you came to me and said, I love like cyberpunk stuff, I love Eon Flux, and my mind's a blank, but you know,
that shit.
Yeah, if you like futuristic manga and that manga,
whatever.
Fuck you. Don't comment about how to say it. I don't care. Mongo. You know, so I think maybe there's a narrow slice of people who would possibly be specifically into this kind of stuff. Androids, heavy action with ninjas, sci-fi, and that's it. If you're into that, this is going to check all those boxes and be super cool. If you're not, you probably won't care.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Maybe somebody that's into really trashy anime would like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, podcast, YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment.
Do all those things.
Later.